We are back with an instant reaction not only to UFC 309, but to Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. I guess we'll just start with the one that happened before, which was the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. I'm gonna be real, that shit looked trash. It wasn't good. I mean, what do you expect from a Jake Paul fight? Those are always rigged, and frankly, that it just shows how sad boxing is at this point. That like these jokes of a fight are being entertained, and we have some of those in UFC sometimes, especially the one I'm going to talk about. But it's just clear that Jake Paul, he barely won against a 58-year-old Tyson. He couldn't knock him out. I mean, I don't think he was trying to. He kind of felt bad. Didn't look like he was trying to knock him out, but it was clear that Tyson wasn't really trying either. Tyson looked like after 2 rounds he just stopped trying, and there's a bunch of conspiracy about that. Maybe they told him not to try, not to make it look easy against Paul. It was clear that Tyson was the better boxer, but Tyson didn't do enough to win on the scorecards. Jake Paul was getting more hits in. I mean, Tyson only had 16 strikes landed, and that's it. He just kept biting the glove, doing all that stuff, and it was a waste of time. It was a waste of time. And what could I expect from a Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight? I said before that Mike Tyson couldn't last against Jake Paul, and it's true that he couldn't win, but I was expecting Jake Paul to knock him out, considering he was 58 years old. But I'm not surprised that he didn't. But Mike Tyson's really hard to hit. And for Jake Paul to knock him out, it would have been a steep task. And for the fact that he didn't knock him out, I don't think we should give him so much flack for that. Considering Mike Tyson still... I mean, Mike Tyson, he's hard to knock out. And for a 58-year-old, it would just be sad if he did. Because it's like you're just hurting Mike Tyson when he literally can't do anything. It's like the man's a senior citizen. A few more years, he's a senior citizen. So... No, I mean, I have no words for the fight. I mean, it clearly was more of a sparring match than a fight. And, I mean, it's really not it. But, I mean, compared to UFC 309, it was trash. I mean, the most entertaining fight on that card was the co-main, Serrano versus Taylor. That, I put in a parlay for Serrano versus Taylor, and Mike Tyson. I did win, so that's a good thing. I got 75 out of that. It's good. And, I mean, it's a big robbery. I thought Serrano won that. I was thinking Serrano won that, but, Taylor winning that. I mean, I just don't get it because Serrano had more strikes. It was clear that, most of the damage that Serrano got was mostly from the headbutts. And, I mean, those Irish fighters, they just like to fight dirty, and it's stupid. It's really stupid because most of those cuts and the damage came from the accidental headbutts. I'm not saying they were intentional, but it just makes no sense. I don't know how you would say that Serrano even lost that fight, but it was a close fight. Don't get me wrong, it was a close fight, but I mean, losing by 100 strikes or being 100 strikes behind and still winning is just makes no sense. You barely see that, and even then, going beyond the strikes, she still lost. I mean, it was a good fight though. They exchanged, they made it entertaining. And the Ramos fight was also really good as well. I mean, those fights were better than the main event. The main event was trash, and I can see why a bunch of people just started leaving the moment the fight ended. Mike Tyson didn't even want to be there. He looked like he just wanted to go home, and I just felt bad for him. And Jake Paul, I mean, he wasn't trying either. Jake Paul wasn't trying either. He wasn't trying to knock him out. But, I mean, the way he was fighting, it's distance. He was respecting Mike Tyson's power a lot, and he didn't want to get caught in the bad side. But it looked like more of a farce. It looked like some little clown show, man. I don't know. These Jake Paul fights just always seem to amaze me by just how shit they are. But, what's next for Jake Paul? I mean, he just has some call-outs. I don't know what old man is he going to fight. Maybe he fights George Foreman, fucking Roy Jones. I don't know. Maybe I doubt he's going to fight Canelo or Tank Garcia. I mean, and Tank Davis. I don't know why the fuck I say Tank Garcia. Tank Davis. I doubt they're gonna fight these guys because you can't. Canelo is more likely, but let me be real. Like, he's not gonna go against a good boxer because the last actual boxer he went against, he lost, and it's just embarrassing to lose to someone like Tommy Fury, especially when you pride yourself on being a good boxer. So, I mean, that's just one thing, and I don't know what's next for Jake Paul, what other fights he can do. But frankly, I could care less, to be honest. Like, watching a Jake Paul fight, I watched because of Mike Tyson, and even then, it was just disappointing. I don't know. Any other fucking Uber driver he wants to fight, it's whatever. It's clear that Jake Paul, you know, he's making a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. He's making a ton of money. He gets a lot of views. You know, every time a Jake Paul fight comes on, it's like it makes a ton of money. Especially when it involves people like Mike Perry and Mike Tyson and Anderson Silva, Ben Askren, all these guys, you know, they always make a ton of money, and you know he's making big. He's making bank from it, and at the end of the day, the real winners are the people who fought, or the people who earned the most money, like Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. They're the real winners. They got millions of dollars, and the real losers are the people who spent tickets going to the arena and then they had to watch an 8-round sparring session between an old man and some guy. It's crazy, but. Let's go to a lighter subject now. Let's go to UFC 309. UFC 309 was really good. I think people were shitting on this card. I was saying the card was not that good. But, looking back, like, after watching the fights, the card was good. Man, the fights were really good. There were some really good performances. I mean, it was a good card. We saw a lot of knockouts. Like, there are a lot more knockouts now with the new old gloves than there were with the new gloves. And I think, before I wasn't minding the new gloves as much. I thought, it was good to, like, reduce the eye pokes. But, now I'm looking back into it as, like, there's more knockouts. There's more, like, people are just much more, like, able to knock out people. Like, we saw more knockouts in this event than we expected. So, I mean, I think the old gloves, they're definitely still good. Maybe they'll find a way to get the good parts of the old gloves and then still find a way to reduce eye pokes. Because, frankly, I know the only reason why they even put the old gloves was because of John Jones, and that's it. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, not pretty much it for the gloves, but, man, the fights were really good. I didn't get all the picks right, but it doesn't matter anyways because I won on $150. I got the parlay hit, above 14.5 strikes for Bo Nickel, above 7.5 minutes for Charles Oliveira, and then above a fantasy score of 117.5 for John Jones. John Jones, Charles Oliveira, they put on spectacular performances. Let's talk about like the fights first. I mean, let's go into the prelims. I mean, there were some really good prelim fights. I mean, the Jonathan Martinez and Marcus McGee fight, it was good. In my opinion, I think Jonathan Martinez just didn't do enough. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. But clearly, like, he could have won the fight. Marcus McGee was getting really crippled by those leg kicks. Martinez didn't really do much in the first and second rounds to warrant him to win those rounds. But the third round, he could have done something. But he decided to clinch up with Marcus McGee. And I was disappointed because I was thinking, like, damn, you're weakening his leg. He literally cannot walk, and you decided to clinch with him. And it's just like, I don't know what the hell Martinez was doing. It's clear that Jose Aldo loss affected his confidence a ton because he was really doing well. But then, Jose Aldo, he came in, and not only did he beat him, he schooled him. He made him look like an amateur. And I think that affected his confidence a lot. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be a downward trajectory for Martinez. I hope it isn't because Martinez has all the skills to be such a good fighter. But I don't know. After what we saw with Marcus McGee, we don't know what's going to happen to Martinez. Marcus McGee, he showed himself tonight. He put in a bunch of work. He did really well. He dominated the first 2 rounds. He put in more strikes. Round 3, he had some trouble, but, he was able to skate through, and then he won. He won the fight 30-27 easily, and man, it was good. It was a good fight. There's some other good fights as well. Let's start with the main card. The Mauricio Ruffy and Yanis Lontop fight was really good. It was really, it was what I expected Ruffy to win. I was saying that Ruffy would win by finish, I think, and No, he didn't win by finish because I mean Giannis on top he's a beast. He takes these hard ass shots. I mean Ruffy was unloading on him. He was putting in those power shots. He had that power hook. He had the power right hand. He was battering Giannis on top, and I mean Giannis he just kept on going. He was doing really well too. Round 3 he won. I mean it was clear 29-28 for Ruffy, and I mean Giannis on top. I think like. He fought like a warrior. I hope he doesn't get cut from the UFC because he missed weight. Like, I know he missed a catch weight, which is just really bad. But I hope he doesn't get cut because he does have a lot of potential. He just needs to lock in. He just needs to improve his. He needs to get in shape. He needs to just get back to normal. Maybe like work on his skills because he has so much potential. He showed against Ruffy that he definitely can be a good fighter. I mean, I just think that it would be unfair for him to be cut. Or at least, if he gets cut, like, they should be open to, accepting him in the future, But, oh yeah, and there was another fight. I mean, there was the Onama versus, I think the Romero fight. Yeah, the Onama versus Romero fight, really good. I mean, Romero, not dominated, but, like, he showed that dominant spirit. I mean, not dominant spirit, I guess, like, the indomitable spirit, yeah. He went in. I would say I'd give him round 1 because he clearly was the one pressuring and he got a really good knockdown. Even though Onama did come back little in round 1, I think he would get. I think Romero got round 1. I'd give that with 29-28 to Onama though because he just kept his composure. After the first round, he wasn't doing well, but he just kept his composure. He kept distancing himself, using the jab really well. He had the reach advantage, so that was really working in his favor. And he was able to skate by. He was giving Romero some problems, and yeah, he was able to win. The decisive win for Onama. I mean, Onama is really good. And then Maurice Ruffy called out Benoit Saint Denis. I mean, man, that's crazy, right? I mean, I think that's going to be a good fight. I think Mauricio Ruffy, he has proven that he is a really good fighter. He kind of reminds me of Conor McGregor a little bit. I mean, the way he fights, the way he, lands those strikes, I mean, the karate stance, I mean, he is like Conor McGregor reborn. Like a Brazilian Conor McGregor. And, him fighting Benoit Saint Denis, I think that would be a good idea. I think Benoit Saint Denis, he's kind of on a decline right now. If he wants to redeem himself, he should be able to face an up-and-coming contender like Mauricio Ruffy, and then we'll see. Benoit Saint Denis is still good, but, after the Moicano defeat, the future for Benoit Saint Denis holds in the balance. But let's start with the Bo Nickel fight, because, in my opinion, Bo Nickel using his wrestling and not using his wrestling, he didn't use any wrestling at all. He kept it on the feet, and I was saying this in my last prediction that if he kept it on the feet, he would have the win, and he did exactly that. I was thinking in my mind. I didn't say this in the video specifically, but I was thinking in my mind that he was probably not going to be using his wrestling that much because he didn't want to risk getting submitted by Paul Craig. I mean, a lot of people have been using their wrestling against Paul Craig, and Paul Craig, he just does so well at getting that triangle in. And when people have that top mount position, he still somehow finds a way to defend from the back and get that triangle in. And I think Bo Nickel knew that. Bo Nickel knew that he didn't have that BJJ to counteract Paul Craig because Paul Craig is a really good BJJ practitioner. He's a black belt. It's clear that he would have got that triangle if Bo Nickel was using the wrestling and getting the top mount. So, he kept on the feet. Bo Nickel showed his striking. His striking was pretty good. For a guy who's mostly a wrestler, he was doing well. Paul Craig had some big moments too. It was a close fight, but Bo Nickel won. He won 30-27. I'd say it's barely a 30-27. I think Paul Craig definitely had the first round, so I'd say it's a 29-28. But Bo Nickel did well. He's still improving. He is still improving. He is still he's 7-0 right now. He has a lot more experience to gain. Does he deserve a top 15 opponent yet? I just don't think he'll do well against a top 15 opponent, to be honest. In my opinion, I think Bo Nickel just needs more. He needs more fights. He needs more times to prove himself. Maybe have him fight down or something. Fight someone who's worse than him in the unranked position, and just have him have one more fight. And if he wins that one, he deserves top 15. Because I don't know, it didn't convince me. He didn't convince me enough that he is a top 15 contender. I mean, I just don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe he can fight up and fight someone like Chris Curtis. Maybe. I don't know. I think Chris Curtis is fighting someone else, but you can fight someone like him. And, I mean, the Paul Craig fight just showed me, like, his striking is good, but I think he should rely on his wrestling more often if he wants to be able to have that advantage. You know, because his wrestling is very good. How he would do it against Khamzat, because, he's always called out Khamzat, said he could beat him. I mean, I'm still giving it to Khamzat. Khamzat's shown time and time again. He's a good striker, but he's also a very, very talented wrestler. He showed that against Robert Whittaker. He easily submitted him. I think it would be the same for Bo Nickel. Bo Nickel, he's a good wrestler. Would he be able to defend Khamzat's takedowns? Maybe. But you would last a little longer, but I think Khamzat would have found a way to keep that pressure wrestling. Because Khamzat kind of reminds me of a middleweight Khabib. He's a really good wrestler. He's not really that good at striking, but Khamzat, he just keeps the pressure, man. He just keeps going and going, and he has that, and he is just aggressive in the first round, He's like a more dangerous version of Khabib, and, Bo Nickel, he's not on that level yet. He needs more time to improve. He needs more time to just keep fighting, because he's only had 7 pro fights. He's only had 4 UFC fights. He needs more. So I'm not convinced he should be getting a top 15 opponent. I think we're rushing him too fast. I think the UFC is rushing him too fast. He is eventually going to lose if he goes against a top 15 opponent. But anyways, let's go with the co-main event. I mean, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. I mean, that was a fight I had been waiting for. I mean, that was probably the most exciting fight that was on the card. And man, it did not disappoint. It did not disappoint. Charles Oliveira went in and delivered a masterclass 50-49. I mean, I'd say that it would be 49-46 because I think Chandler did win that last round. But, man, that was a classic domination from Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira showed why he is still one of the most dangerous contenders in lightweight. And, I mean, a lot of people were sleeping on him. They were saying that Chandler was going to come back and be a new, and maybe Charles Oliveira was on a decline because he lost to Arman Sarukian and Islam Makhachev. And Charles Oliveira went in. He not only dominated Chandler on the striking, which was a point of concern that I had in my last fight. Because when I said that Chandler had power, and Chandler did show that power. He was able to almost knock out Charles Oliveira. He hit him with some really good shots in the 5th round. He locked in. He went aggressive. And he was able to kind of give Charles Oliveira some trouble, man. But, Charles Oliveira, he's a beast. He is a beast. And, I thought that fight was going to get stopped at the 5th round. But it did not. And he just kept fighting. He kept waiting at that time and he won. So, I mean, Charles Oliveira is still on the top. And you know what? Now he's probably going to get that next title shot against Islam after Arman. So, I mean, it's just obvious. And also, it opens up opportunities. Maybe he gets that Holloway fight, the Holloway BMF fight. I think it might go to Chandler. I don't think it will because I think Chandler should fight down. It's clear that he can't hang with most of the top 5. So, I mean, after what Oliveira did to him, I think Chandler kind of needs to prove himself again. I mean, he hasn't fought in 2 years, so I get why he wasn't doing that well. Because I did say that 2-year layoff would affect it. He needs to be in that cage. He needs to have more fights. His last fight was against Dustin Poirier, and he lost decisively. He got just submitted. And I was saying before that Chandler was going to have those same problems because Charles Oliveira is a better striker. He's a better grappler than Chandler. And we saw that. In the first 4 rounds, Charles Oliveira was doing really well on the feet. He showcased some beautiful Muay Thai, kept that high guard. He kept with the counters. He hit Chandler with some really good shots. He had him running. And, I mean, I thought Charles Oliveira was going to get another knockout, but Chandler, he's a much more defensively sound. He wasn't letting himself getting vulnerable. When he was on the ground, Charles Oliveira was clearly dominant on the ground. He was getting all the top control. I think he had almost 10 minutes of control time. I think more than that, honestly. More than 10 minutes of control. That's more than 2 rounds. I mean, he was controlling Chandler. He was dominating Chandler on the ground. Chandler, he was able to defend a lot of the chokes and stuff like that, and it showed his improvement and stuff. I mean, Chandler's a really good grappler as well, so I don't blame him. But Charles Oliveira, one thing I noticed about Charles Oliveira was his improvement in his wrestling. His wrestling improved so much. He was able to take down Chandler with ease. No one has been able to take down Chandler, ever. Charles Oliveira was the first one to do it. He couldn't do it the last fight. He did it this fight. and he improved his wrestling, he improved his striking, he improved his BJJ. His BJJ was sound, even though Chandler was able to defend it. Charles Oliveira had some close moments. Chandler was just really good at defending it, though. But Chandler, he showed some improvement, too, on the ground. And, he was a beast. He just went all 5 rounds. He did not give up. He is a warrior. And he had a really good moment in the 5th round. He knocked down Charles Oliveira. He definitely won that 5th round. I would give that 5th round to Chandler because he did dominate and he had some dominant top control. But man, Charles Oliveira did really well in the first rounds. I did not expect it to go to decision. I did not. I thought Charles Oliveira was going to submit him, and he was close to submitting him. But Chandler kind of did show that he was a lot better defensively, and he was a lot more careful. And one thing I was going to say, that maybe Chandler being careful was kind of his downfall, because I think Charles Oliveira was a lot more prepared for Chandler now than he was in the first fight. The first fight, he was not able to prepare for the strikes in the first round, and he just wasn't receptive to his power. But Charles Oliveira, he showed his striking prowess, his grappling prowess. He showed that he is a much better fighter now. I think he learned a lot from that Arman Tsarukyan fight when it came to the striking. Arman Tsarukyan's a great striker too, but I think he learned a lot to be much more aggressive, to keep that pressure on him, something he did not do in that Arman Tsarukyan fight, and I think that's what cost him that 3rd round in the match. So I think Charles Oliveira, he's constantly improving. He's still young. He's 35 years old. He could definitely become a champion again. And what that fight showed me is that he has a chance against Islam Makhachev. Dustin Poirier and Volkanovski showed that Islam is beatable. He is very much beatable. Dustin Poirier was almost close to beating him, and Volkanovski was arguably beat him. Even though he did lose, I thought he won when I first watched that match. And Islam, he's very good. He is definitely the best lightweight right now. But he has shown that, he's very beatable because Islam requires more on his striking, and he's more of a grappler than he is a big pressure wrestler. He's not like Khabib. People compare him to Khabib. He is not like Khabib. He does not have that same presence Khabib has. Khabib, he always pressures you. He always has that takedown threat because whenever he tries to take you down, he always gets it. Islam doesn't really have that. He does have the takedown threat, and that affected Dustin Poirier. But in my opinion, I think he relies more on his striking and on his judo more than his wrestling. And that's what makes him beatable. And I think Charles Oliveira, he showed such an improvement in his wrestling. He showed such an improvement in his striking. And I think that if Charles Oliveira goes against Islam, if Islam wins against Arman Tsarukyan, and he does decide to defend his belt again, then Charles Oliveira will have a chance against Islam. And I think Charles Oliveira could beat Islam in the rematch. I think Charles Oliveira is the toughest matchup for Islam. And so is Arman. Arman and Charles are both tough matchups for Islam. There are a lot of tough matchups for Islam, but Islam, he keeps proving himself time and time again. We'll see in that Arman Tsarukyan fight if he really, his improvements in his wrestling, his striking. We'll just see that, and we'll see how, that's when I'll make my opinion on whether, my prediction for the Charles Oliveira versus Islam fight. And that's what's next for Charles Oliveira. It's the title shot. He's going to get that title shot. Islam entertained the notion of having Charles fight for the title. I think he deserves to fight for the title. He did beat 2 up-and-coming contenders. He had a close match with the number 1 contender. I think that's enough to warrant a title shot. And, he's a former champion. He deserves one. He should have got one in UFC 294. He got injured. It was not his fault. He did not duck, like a lot of Islam fans say. And I think he deserves one. But for what's next for Michael Chandler, the Conor fight might be in jeopardy. I don't know if Conor might want to fight Chandler. Chandler is going off the loss. I did say that it could affect his chances of getting a Conor fight. I think if Conor were to, he would rather fight the winner. And I think he would fight someone like Charles Oliveira. Because that's a fight that's been entertained ever since Charles became champ. So, I don't know. It might happen. I don't know if Conor McGregor is ever going to fight again. And I wouldn't care, to be honest. Because he's rich, got a family, got all these businesses to run. If he did return, he would not be the same Conor. And I would believe that Charles and Chandler would beat him. Easily. I think Conor's just not that man anymore. But Yeah, let's go on to the main event. I mean, the main event, John Jones versus DP Miocic. Give me a second. We're talking a lot, yapping. Good exercise for the jaw. But John Jones versus DP Miocic. I mean, that was a fight. I mean, Steve Miocic clearly, in my opinion, I think this fight was just reminded me of the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight. It was a clear mismatch. It was an easy fight for Jones. I was right in saying that this was an easy fight for Jones because Stipe came in looking very slow, very stiff. He looked confused. He looked like hassled. He looked like that age caught up to him. I think that 3-year layoff, the fact that he lost his last fight, he got knocked out by Francis Ngannou. I think that really did affect him. He lost his speed. He lost his power. And John Jones, I mean, he still had the same power. I think he was a bit faster, in my opinion. I mean, John Jones clearly was the better wrestler. He was the better grappler. And he was also the better striker. Even though Stipe did have some good moments with the boxing, and he was able to get some good shots on John Jones that had him backing up and a little bit wobbled a bit. But Stipe was just not fast enough. He was just not fast to anticipate the kicks, to anticipate the body work, to really follow up in his combos. You know, he hits John with a good punch, and he didn't follow up on the combos. And because of that, you know, John Jones was just picking them apart. I mean, the first round, that was 10-8. Second round was a 10-9. Third round, TKO. I mean, that was just a clear domination from John Jones. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, it was clearly such a mismatch. And, I mean, what's next for Stipe? You know, there is nothing next for Stipe. He retired. I'm glad he retired. I think he should have retired even if he did win, even if he did lose. He's old. I didn't expect him to win, to be honest. In the back of my mind, I was kind of hoping he would, like, pull the upset, you know, because, like, John Jones and stuff like that, you know, see Stipe Miocic to beat him. People thought it was going to be the old Stipe, but the Stipe that came in was the current Stipe, the semi-retired Stipe, the slow Stipe. And, I mean, if the fight happened 5 years ago, it would have been a different result, I think. I think Stipe could have definitely won that fight if it was 5 years ago, but I mean, Stipe is just not that man anymore, and it's right for him to retire. You know, Stipe, he's a heavyweight GOAT. He is the greatest heavyweight of all time, and he is one of the best heavyweight champions. He is the best heavyweight champion of all time. I mean, John Jones beating him does not change that. John Jones is not above Stipe Miocic at all when it comes to heavyweight legacy. I mean, Stipe Miocic, he retired on a low note, which sucks. He couldn't win, but he retires. He's able to rest now. He can do what he truly wants to do, which is firefight. He can be with his family, you know, enjoy the retirement because he deserves it. He made such a good legacy. For John Jones, he's not retiring. I'm kind of glad, to be honest. I don't want John Jones to retire. I think he has way more to do in heavyweight. I think he needs to fight Tom Aspinall. If he retired before fighting Tom Aspinall, then that would have been staying on his legacy. So I'm glad, you know, he is staying. He didn't say he wants to fight Tom Aspinall, but he said he'll do whatever Dana White wants him to do. And I think Dana White will make him fight Tom Aspinall. I don't know if he will, but we'll see. Tom Aspinall, I mean, the fight was definitely not surprising. John Jones showed that he was the better striker. He's better than Steve Miocic at that time. He's the better man right now. So John Jones is younger, and clearly he's a lot faster than Stipe. But frankly, a lot of heavyweights are faster than Stipe. I mean, Stipe going 3 rounds with John Jones. I mean, that was what surprised me. I thought he was gonna finish. I thought John Jones was about to finish. Was about to ground and pound at Stipe in the first round. Second round was slow. You know, John Jones had some really good hits. JP had like maybe a couple, and you know, John Jones was just like teeing off. He was just showcasing his kicks, his body work, his punches, stuff like that. You didn't really try to wrestle him after the first round, and he went with a spinning back kick. And it hurt Stipe. He collapsed and TKO. Yeah, TKO pretty much. And I'm not surprised, you know, to be honest. It's just You know what that fight confirmed to me that is that John Jones and Tom Aspinall would be a very competitive fight, and I think Tom Aspinall would win. Tom Aspinall is everything Stipe wasn't in that fight. Tom Aspinall is fast. He is strong. He is a guy who will pounce on you. He has good wrestling. He has good BJJ, and frankly, John Jones is only getting older, and Tom Aspinall is only getting better and better. I hope that Tom Aspinall gets to fight again. Fight John Jones, or at least if John Jones doesn't want to fight him, at least have Tom Aspinall fight someone else. Because I want Tom Aspinall to keep fighting. But because I like watching his fights. Maybe he'll defend his belt again against the winner of Gane versus Volkov. I hope he doesn't, because I don't want him to defend that fucking interim belt. I want him to I want him to unify the belts, and I want John Jones to stop running. What that fight made me realize is that I understand why John Jones is ducking. He would lose against Aspinall. Aspinall has proven time and time again. He's the younger guy. He's the way better guy at heavyweight than John Jones. John Jones, you can say, oh, he wasn't trying. He was definitely trying against Stipe. But, John Jones was playing it safe against Stipe. He was respecting the power. He knew he could have gotten knocked out easily by Stipe. Stipe did have that power, but it was clear that Stipe was slow, and John Jones was able to pick off him, and he got the TKO. But I don't see that happening with Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall will come out, and he will show John Jones that he does not fit at heavyweight. Tom Aspinall will show John Jones levels, because John Jones is only getting worse and worse. I think that injury did affect John Jones. He's not as fast. And I think the fact that John Jones doesn't have any power actually kind of benefits Tom Aspinall so much. Because Tom Aspinall has power, and he has speed, and he has agility. He showed that against Curtis Blades and Sergey and Volkov. He has speed and agility and reflexes. He's only getting better and better. He is in his prime. Tom Aspinall is in his prime. If not in his prime, he's about to be in his prime. He's champion right now. He's only getting better and better. Like you said, Tom Aspinall, the way he trains, he only gets better and better. He only focuses on training. He is a guy who wants to become an undisputed champion. He has more of that fire than John Jones. And a lot of John fans will say, oh, no, John Jones would beat Tom Aspinall, but I think it would be the opposite. I think John Jones honestly sees that he would lose to Tom Aspinall, and that's why he wants to try to avoid the fight. But I think Dana White, he said multiple times that that John Jones will have to fight Tom Aspinall. So I think Dana White will definitely put his foot down and force that fight, and if he does, that would be a good thing, because I want him to fight Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall deserves that undisputed belt. And you know what? I'd rather see John Jones beat Tom Aspinall than John Jones run away from Tom Aspinall. So, anyways, that's my recap. UFC 309, it was a good card. There's some entertaining fights. The Charles Oliveira fight and the Michael Chandler fight was definitely fight of the night for sure. That was a fight that was going back and forth. We saw Charles Oliveira give his best performance yet. And, there were some good performances. Definitely, fight of the night could go to Charles Oliveira, but it can also go to Ruffy versus Lontop. So, or Onama versus Romero. I think those were really good fights. Performance of the nights can go to, the guy who beat Mickey Gall, O'Bane Elliott as well. O'Bane Elliott definitely dominated. And John Jones, maybe. I don't know if John Jones deserves it, because performance of the year against that grandpa, it's crazy. But no hate to Stipe, Stipe, he's old, so I get it. But that'll be all for this video. That's all. See you in the next one. UFC 310 predictions. I will make a video predicting the Peter Yan versus Davidson Figueiredo fight. I decided I will. I thought I was only going to have 2 videos. This is going to be my 3rd video. I'm going to have more videos. So I will make a prediction in a few days on the Peter Yan versus Davidson Figueiredo fight. And then after that, make a prediction on UFC 310. We got the new main event, which is Alexander Pantoja versus Kai Sakura. New co-main, Shavkat versus Ian Gary. And then, yeah, exciting fights up ahead. This year will end on a high. So we'll see. Bye.